Hi, my name is Falk My Malaysian name is Aoyang Kaimeng. I'm the managing director of Soundtrec Malaysia, which is a company focused on creation of music for video games.
My name is Shota Nakama. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, but originally from Okinawa, Japan. And I run this company, same as Falk, called Soundtrec. And I'm over in Boston, and we do like big recording sessions over in Boston, composing, arranging, pretty much everything related to audio for video games, animation, and films.
I guess the first thing to clarify is different clients do look for different things. So it really depends on the scope of the project. A lot of our bigger projects, like the ones from Square Enix, they have a composer, they have the music, and we take that music, Shota orchestrates, we record it in Boston, and then I'll be doing the engineering for those things. So I'll be doing the mixing and sometimes the mastering implementation depending on what the client wants again. Other gigs, when we are asked to do the entire thing, when they approach us and say, can we have music for our game, then our team, our network and our team, which includes a lot of internationally renowned composers, we start from there and then we compose it. So yeah, it really depends from client to client. Again, it depends from client to client, and it very much also depends on the deadline. So the scope of the stuff we do, obviously there's a huge range from Final Fantasy 15, which we did over the course of 2 years, was it? Yeah. Up to really small mobile games where they need like 3 or 4 small tracks, and the scope is very different. Those can be done in a matter of days. If you're talking about a typical game soundtrack, if let's just say not more than about 40 minutes of music, and the entire pipeline from composition, maybe recording, if not then sequencing, production, implementation, average would be about 3 weeks to a month or so. Yeah. Okay, wrong practices for engineering. I guess this is something I did learn the hard way. Specifically, we're talking about engineering, right? When you're engineering, you sometimes need to remember that you are hired to do a task, and often you may have an opinion on the music, but you are there to support someone else's goals. So you are there to engineer, to record the takes, make sure it's good. So you shouldn't try to inject yourself, unless asked, of course, into like saying, oh, that performance, that take wasn't that good, and try to override what's happening in the recording room. Because there is a hierarchy to things, and these sessions are expensive and you do not want to waste time at all. We have benefited a lot from working with big names. Like we have worked on Disney music, we have worked obviously Square Enix music. It's the same thing. I'm talking specifically about Kingdom Hearts, and the work culture and the precedence that is set. A lot of it is because it works, which is why it's done this particular way. I think that's a very good base to work off. At the same time, sometimes the techniques that are used, they work, but there is new technology that can do things a different way. Maybe it's more efficient, maybe it's better quality. And sometimes that same culture or that same precedent that people have been using for a while, it might be stuck in the past, so that's a trap as well. So it's always about understanding technology and understanding current trends and keeping up with them. So yeah, that's my personal take on it. There's good and bad.
Yeah, well, first of all, deadlines, that definitely has something to do, because you kind of have to come up with something, regardless of what state you're in. But I think, I'm sure you were the same too, but these ideas, you don't really get inspired by certain things. It occurs in your head so randomly that you can't really specify. For example, like, it happens when I'm walking. Oh, it happens when I'm sleeping. Oh, it happens when I'm, like, just playing on the guitar. Yes, these things happen, but it's so hard to specify because it's just so random.
If I might add to that, a lot of time also, obviously, when we are composing for media, we are composing for a particular project. It depends on the client, the director of a game. Like, if he has a very specific style or reference in mind, then that would be the inspiration. But if he says, do your thing, I trust you, then it's a bit more sporadic, like it's spontaneous. Yeah. Obviously, we grew up playing a lot of games from the golden age of Japanese games, and that does inspire a lot of work. For myself, I also get inspired a lot by Korean rhythm games. And I think Korean video game music has a very, very strong and very rich culture. Anyone who's played Ragnarok Online probably remembers the soundtrack to that.
Every project has certain difficulties. There are some details I can't really say, but I think Final Fantasy 15 was definitely the toughest one in terms of timeline and in terms of the pressure, because when you're composing for Final Fantasy, you can't fail. If you make something sound bad, then you're bad. So yes, like there's certain pressure, and yes, time frame. We were. Hasmir talked about this, but there were certain times like we were rushing so much that we didn't really even have time to think thoroughly. We just had to act, and but in those cases it's pretty tough. But I think we managed it, right?
Hilariously enough, there's this phenomenon in the music industry for composers where you get a bit typecast. That's a term where you are known for a specific sound, and then people ask you for that, even if you want to do something different. I actually have that had that happen to me in a few of the smaller composition gigs where. I'm not the composer of Kingdom Hearts, by the way, just so that that's on the record. But I have been asked quite a few times, because they know I've worked on Kingdom Hearts, Shota's worked on Kingdom Hearts, like, can you give us something that sounds like Kingdom Hearts? And so it's a bit of the opposite.
I guess it's more common in the game industry for some reason. But from what I have seen in the film and the animation industry, the companies choose the composer based on the sound of the composer, not based on the product that this composer has composed for. I don't know why, but I think the video game music industry is still growing, and I think they're breaking out of that already. And I think in the West, people have a tendency to choose the composer based on the tone of this person. I think that's good. Composers don't think that way. Like, none of the musicians think like that. I think our goal when we're facing a project is to fulfill what we're facing, and we try to do our best, and the result will just follow, I think.
This is a very general advice, but obviously your skills are important, your knowledge is important, but what a lot of people overlook is making connections. I would say if you have that interest, you feel you have that skill set, it doesn't matter how skilled you are if no one knows about it. So it's important to go out, meet people, go to events like Level Up. If you have the funds to do it, go to like Casual Connect, anything around the region, go there, meet developers. Obviously, there is also this cliche of people going to these events and like their whole purpose is to get gigs, and it's very obvious, and it feels very shallow. So my advice is be genuine. Like if you have a genuine interest in a game, don't say, hey, I want to compose for a game. Like ask about the game first, ask about the product, and then say, build that rapport, and then after that, it's like, by the way, this is what I do. Can I help? It's very obvious when someone is just trying to get in or like trying to be an intern in a company, So that's my advice.
Networking is very, very, very important, and I think I got to where I am right now because of that. And I got all the gigs from my friends, not from somebody I don't know of. And it's always like that unless you become like super famous, right? But my advice would be follow your instinct, follow your musical instinct, and refine the music that you compose, and be good at what you like. Know your strength and use it. I think that's how you do it.